real success stories told by the people who lived them.
We're going to have some guests on this show that everybody knows, and we're going to have guests on this show that nobody knows yet.
One by one, Nick Hiter is adding hits to the Hitstreak.
Blessings, folks. Welcome back to another episode of the Hitstreak. I'm your man, Nick Hiter, and I've got an extra special guest for you in the Hitlab with me today. I can honestly say that it's my favorite guest that I've ever had, and she's back for a second time. Why? One, because she's awesome, but two, because, we listen to you guys. We ask for a lot of feedback, you give it, and everybody's been asking for this young lady to come back and join us for a second episode. So, without further ado, I've got my better half, my bride, my business partner, my best friend, Rhiannon Hiter, in the Hitlab with me today. Rhi, thanks so much for hanging with me today, girl.
Thanks for having me back again for the second time.
So, we could talk about, we're just chit-chatting today, folks. We're just chit-chatting. We're having a good time. I don't know, what are we talking about today?
A little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything? Life,
women, business, family, health.
All things I love.
Yep.
All things I love. So, well, check it out. We recently came back from a trip out to Arizona, a work trip out to Arizona, where we did a friend of ours podcast, with Jack O'Hara, the O'Hare Show. That was fantastic. You just did another podcast episode last week. You went and shot that, and you guys were talking about a lot of stuff. So, and I know you've got more podcast episodes up and coming. That's pretty cool, right?
It's exciting to make more debuts than just a Hiter show.
That's right. Well, they're fun, right?
That's right.
They're fun. What are some things that all these different podcast hosts, all these different studios, all those things? What are some things that stand out? The differences between the hosts and all that kind of stuff.
This one in particular, it's more of the main focus. That's what we're here to do, is to have a podcast, to get it out to the people that need to hear it. The Jack show, I think his was a different space. It was a cool space, but here you just get, it's more of a homey feel too. And then
Gotcha.
The one I did last week was, it's not televised or videoed. It's all basically just the audio. So that was different than this. So, and they, kind of stop and, fix it and things like that. And
Gotcha.
That doesn't air till January. And that was literally about marketing in the insurance space.
Gotcha. So yeah, we do very little editing on these shows. We're obviously mastering some levels and putting some cool animations and contact info and things like that. But as far as redoing parts or cutting things, we very rarely do that. It has to be a pretty catastrophic mistake for us to do that, or a power failure or something like that, right?
Correct.
Well, cool, man. So, you are, everybody knows who you are. I'm just going to go down the list of interview topics and questions that you filled out for me, right? So you said we're talking about everything. Let's start with balancing life, being a mom, wife, and business owner. All right, what does that statement mean?
There's plenty of right ways to do it, and there's plenty of wrong ways to do it. And I think at the end of the day, you have to remember that you're human and you're going to make mistakes. You're going to doubt yourself, and that's the wrong way. You're still going to have that in the back of your mind, but if you want to do it the right way, you have to remember every day, as long as you're moving forward, everybody is getting what they need to the point of staying alive, you're doing a good job.
That's what I'm talking about. Well, you're a mom, you're a wife. So being a mom is very demanding. You are counted on tremendously. Being a wife, you are counted on tremendously, and a lot is demanded of you, right? And it all takes work. Just when you think you've got it all figured out, bam, life happens, something new happens. You know what I mean? So, so when you came on last, it was right at a year ago, almost exactly a year ago that we shot that. You were episode 5 of the hit streak, right? So, man, it's crazy to think how far we've come. But you're episode 5, right at a year ago. Our youngest child was not even a year old yet at that time. She was about 6 months old, right?
Correct.
And by the way, like, I can say this because she is my bride. Like, I mean, you looked amazing when you came in last time, obviously, but like, man, like how much, like there's been some massive changes physically for you in that time. Like, what's going on?
In the last year, since then, I got focused and decided I had a goal to hit, and I probably lost around 30 pounds.
Wow.
Don't even know how many inches. And it was not by accident. It was a lot of hard work. I had someone call me the other day out of the blue and say, man, you look good. What are you doing? Send it to me. Like, I'm like, well, there's no secret. It's, dedication. It's counting your macros. It's planning ahead. If I don't plan ahead, then I'm going to eat bad or eat out rather than a homemade meal. And I think that really changed a lot too by just not eating out and not drinking as much. There was lots of sacrifices to get to that end goal that I wanted.
So you just mentioned something that is it's pretty profound in the way that we see a lot of the things that successful people have in common with other successful people, and the people that aren't as successful that don't have those things in common. You mentioned that when you plan your meals, you can you're more disciplined in what you eat and what you put in your body as far as for health reasons, fitness, all that kind of stuff, right? So. Like, what do you mean by that? Because it sounds like if your food's not planned, then it's an impulse, and you're just eating whatever sounds good, I guess. Like, what does that mean?
Well, if I have it planned out mentally, I know what to expect the next day. I'm not looking forward to something that I may have thought of during lunch because I smelled the Mexican restaurant next door to our office.
Oh, it's delicious smelling too, isn't it?
It's so hard to pass. Like, I've literally ate it maybe 4 times in the past year. Normally we would eat, well, despite all the baseball Mexican restaurants throughout the country, but we'll just pass on those. But normally we used to eat that once a week, if not more sometimes. So it was just planning to eat something I looked forward to that I made. Maybe it wasn't the Mexican, but it was something that was going to be clean and something that fit into the macros that I needed to stay on target, which was not really necessary a specific weight, more than just fitting into my clothes and how I felt when I wake up. And if I don't work out for 2 days, I feel horrible. So now it's become this lifestyle that makes me feel better. It doesn't just make me physically look better, but mentally, physically, it makes me feel better all the way around. And then I'm more equipped to, deal with the demands of wife, mom, life, business, all the things that are thrown at me. So,
we were talking about that with Brad when he was here about how, because, he's been getting in shape, and it started with diet, and how he was talking about, like, if I work out, like, I don't want to eat bad because I feel like I'm going backwards. Like, it's, I feel like I'm fighting against all the effort I just put in. It's like almost like it cancels it out. It's a waste. And eating, the reason I'm asking you about that impulse thing is because, like, to eat good, to eat well for your body, and everybody's different. So everybody's got a little bit of it, like certain things, but everybody's bodies react differently to what they put in it. But it's harder. It takes more thought and time to plan because the stuff that's not good for you is available everywhere. Like, just if you're on the road and one of the hardest things to do is find a snack when you're on the road on a long road trip, when you're going into, gas stations and stuff looking for snacks. There's not really anything in there that would be like awesome for health wise.
Absolutely not. Even the pickles have some kind of food dye in them. So it doesn't matter what you get. So I would always bring Chomp bars and Lara bars and things that had very minimal ingredients, and apples and bananas, things that could just be thrown in my purse, and I didn't have to really plan for a cooler because I'm already doing that for a baby. So I didn't want to add to my workload, and those were the 4 of the things that at any moment you could dig through my purse and you would find at least 3 of those.
That's true. And planning is so important, because if you plan your food, you're probably going to plan other things. It turns into a habit, and that's when you budget your money, budget your time, right? All those kind of things. So, but guys, watch this. She knows so much about health. I learn from her all the time. She'll see me reach into a bag and pull something out, and then it won't be in my fingers anymore because she got it. And she's like, you shouldn't eat that. It's got seed oil or a dye in it. Stuff I would, I went to school for this stuff and I don't even know it, right? So let's watch this. So when you go shopping at the store, because we don't have very many name brand, what people would consider name brand, like Doritos and we have chips, but it's not what you would get in the chip aisle at the grocery store, or at least what you would see dominating the chip aisle in the grocery store. Watch this.
So you have to, at the grocery store, the rule of thumb is to shop on the outside of the store, because those are with the exception of dairy, those are your minimal processed foods, meaning they have the least amount of ingredients, pesticides, all of the things.
Why is all that bad?
Most of them lead to cancer.
Okay.
Seed oil, which is, it's been a thing for years. Most people just don't know what they don't know. And I don't know these things because I'm 100% not a doctor, did not go to medical school whatsoever. However, following nutritionists and other people that I admire, their work ethic for how they treat their bodies, that's how I learned the things that I learned. I believe we spoke about this briefly, but it's called the faster way to fat loss. It is a lifestyle change. It's not a diet. It changes your relationship with food. I eat from 12 to 8 o'clock every day. 95% of the time, that's the hours you will see me eating. I try to stay away from dairy. If I do cook with dairy, I try to purchase something that uses goat's milk because it's not as processed. Trader Joe's has incredible options for that.
You do love some Trader Joe's.
Like in Trader Joe's there. And then you just try to avoid gluten. And not necessarily I have an allergy, but everyone at some degree has some kind of reaction to dairy, seed oils, and what most people don't know, it's all their gut. If they can heal their gut, you can move forward with most of those things.
Gotcha.
But that takes some time.
So what you're saying is the long-term exposure to it, from childhood, teenagers being, poor and young and poor and eating on a budget, those things are contaminating. You're saying it's bad for your gut, which your gut needs time to heal. That gives one.
Yeah.
Your gut needs time to heal.
Yes, I read, and I don't know how accurate this is, but it was from a pretty good source, that if you quit eating gluten for more than 3 months, but you eat it one time, it could take up to 3 months for your body to completely process it out of your system.
So what this is you see the comedians making fun of this, or at least you used to, what is gluten?
It is part of something that's added into the production of wheat and grains.
Why?
Seeds. I believe because it has a longer shelf life.
There you go. It's preservative. Mm-hmm. So, and one of the most challenging things, if you ever want to see a grown man disappointed, find something that he loves to put in his mouth to eat, that he enjoys so much, and then I look over at you and you grab the bag and you start looking at the ingredients. I'm like, oh my gosh, please don't find anything, because it tastes so good. And but it does. It's amazing how much better you feel when you do eat clean. It's amazing how much more energy. Honestly, I don't know how I functioned in my 20s with the amount of just the bad stuff I put in, how bad I ate fast food all the time, drank way more alcohol than I should have. I guess just good genetics and youth.
It's a testament to how incredible the body is, especially in our younger years. And that's when we're the hardest on it. You don't realize that those things you're doing up until that time, until you hit about that 29 to 32, you're literally creating problems for yourself later in age.
And one of the most common reasons most people don't eat clean is because of the taste. They don't like it. right? And I was, guys, like, look, you got to understand this, man. I remember it was years ago when we started substituting spaghetti squash for spaghetti noodles. And now we eat cauliflower everything, you know what I mean? And gluten-free. Like, certain places have amazing, like, gluten-free bread. It does taste good. And by the way, the more you start to, the more habits you build, the more you start to become used to those, right? So now when I drink something, like even right now, this energy drink, if you're watching the video, you can see it. It's Alani. It's delicious. But why do I have this, Ree? Why isn't it Monster or Red Bull or one of the big ones?
It's one of the cleaner options.
One of the cleaner options, and we don't drink them every day, but it's good and it's absolutely delicious. And they're becoming more and more popular. But she's always finding these things to help out. And my all of the seams in my pants. Thank you.
Welcome to your seams.
And it is, because I can't be no fat husband. I mean, look at you over there. It's amazing. So I can't be no fat husband, and I definitely can't be a fat daddy, not to a baby girl, anyways. Right? So that was my thing when you were pregnant. I was like, she ain't gonna have some old fat daddy.
That's right.
Well, what else? What else are we talking about today, Ree? That's a little bit of nutrition. What else? Any other nutrition stuff? Or, you work out all the time. We both worked out today already. I work out with Ethan. He's my training partner. You usually have the baby out there with you. She works out with Coco Melon playing in the background.
That's right.
I don't know how you get pumped up to that, honestly.
You just kind of get used to it. The wheels on the bus can be pretty exciting.
But they go round.
That's right.
Well, what else are we talking about, girl?
Incorporating that kind of lifestyle to our kids, like teaching them now the importance of being clean and feeling good. And, Ethan wants to eat a bowl of sugar, aka cereal, every morning. That is not breakfast. That is dessert. And
he loves a Dr. Pepper. My goodness.
Gosh, more than anything. He didn't even drink one until he was almost 8 or 9 we were at a Mexican restaurant with a baseball team, and
sorry about it.
Someone introduced him to Dr. Pepper, but
who was that?
I don't remember. I don't think it was you. It was one of the kids. He accidentally tasted it, but just he picks up on a lot of that, and he knows why if I'm telling him to eat this or that. But he's getting good about that. And then of course the baby, she has very, very minimal processed food, and she would eat avocado all day, every day.
She eats amazing. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm talking like even her applesauce is homemade.
Yes, it is.
It's homemade because it don't look like applesauce.
Because I put powdered spinach. There's a company on Instagram called Little Rascal, and they take spinach and kale and powder it up so that I use it in my smoothies, and I put it in her applesauce. And
what have you been sneaking it in that I eat?
I put it in a few things like spaghetti sauce and things like that. But
well, it does. So the point I was making when I was saying some of them are good, some are not, is it's just like anything else. You probably like certain cars you drive more than other ones. You like certain restaurants better than other ones. It's the same thing when you're eating clean. You got to find out what you like, where to get it, and then incorporate it, right? So most people, like me, simple people, will try a piece of gluten-free bread and be like, I don't like it, I'm out, and just judge all of the brands, all of the lines based off one taste, right?
Right. And what, I have to say, gluten-free, it doesn't mean it's healthy, right? Because I feel like that has become a huge, almost like marketing scheme in that industry right now, to call it gluten-free, and people think that's healthy. That's not healthy. It just means it doesn't have the gluten in it. You still got to look at, for all the other list of bad products, the dyes. It could be gluten-free and have red dye number 4, and that's just as bad as eating gluten. So
gotcha.
Just have to be aware. You just have to give yourself enough knowledge of the big no list, and just look for it. Just read the labels.
Man, like, for all the people that would hate on this stuff, like, just try it. Just try it. But don't try it one time. Try it for like a month. Try it for like 30 days.
And do it in small steps, right? It's harder to accomplish a goal if you're putting something out there that's unattainable. But if you hey, I want to try this for the next 30 days. And then the next 30 days have another step and move forward that way, because it's different. I mean, I grew up on ravioli and tomato soup and macaroni and cheese and the Kraft in a box. Have you ever read the mac and cheese, Kraft mac and cheese? It's horrible. Any of that boxed mac and cheese is bad. If you can make your own, shred the cheese off the block, you're doing a lot better than if you bought the organic macaroni in a box.
If it wasn't the macaroni and cheese in that box, do you think people would buy if it was just cheese in a box?
Probably.
What about, so we got Jim producing this episode. Old Dilladay Gray over, he's off camera, but you'll be able to hear him when I ask you this question, right? So Jim, would you buy, we've all bought boxed mac and cheese. I mean, it tastes good. I used to love it, right? I used to live off that stuff, stovetop stuffing, all of it. Would you buy cheese in a box?
Hell no.
People do. It's called Velveeta.
Oh my God.
Velveeta is on the shelves in a box wrapped in metal aluminum.
Holy cow. All right.
That could be a whole episode itself about that.
But to clarify, I do like me some cheese, Nick.
That's right. I love cheese.
Yes.
I freaking love cheese. And again, but it's in moderation because it's dairy and it clogs you up. Does a lot of stuff. So look, she gave a disclaimer at the beginning that she's not a doctor. She's not somebody, like, you don't have to be certified to self-educate, guys. Like, nobody taught her this stuff. She learned it on her own, and now she's helping out 3 more folks in our household do the same. What you've done for your own family, helping them with stuff, educating my mom and aunt and dad and everybody else about eating and stuff. It's amazing.
And the one of the biggest educations that, I saw even on the way here, how many people are getting the flu. My kids have never been sicker. Well, no kidding. It's true. Halloween. They're putting way more amounts of sugar into their body, which is an immediate immune suppressor. So quit giving your kids so much candy and sugar and give them fruits and veggies, and they won't get sick.
So let's, what else you want to talk about? Let's shift. What else you want to talk about today?
What was next on my list?
What was next on your list? Staying healthy in a busy life.
Well,
I think we just covered that.
We covered all of that. Yep. Check.
So, well, let's talk about this for a second. So, you and I have, how long have we been a thing? We've been married we just had our anniversary recently.
It was 8 years.
8 years married.
Yes.
Right.
We've been together for 14.
Our son's 13.
Yeah, it'll be 14 in January. No,
that's
I don't know.
Yeah, it's 15. 15 years.
Because we met in 2007.
Unless you had the fastest pregnancy I've ever seen.
It was real fast.
15 years, right?
Yep.
15 years. Ethan's 13. Ainsley is 1.5. I guess Ethan's 13.5 at this point,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, what are some of the things that stand out that you see, especially since we talked last on this show a year ago? What are some things that have changed? What's some growth that's happened? What's some things that we've learned? What are some things that we've battled this year that we still battled in the past that we're still overcoming? Like, that's the thing that people need to understand is, growing spiritually, growing as a person, mentally, all those things, paradigm shifts, they take time. And we talk about this a lot here in the office with our agents and such and teammates, that science says that most of what you do in life is you've learned it by your 7th birthday. And it's just I challenge people all the time. Let's ask you, let's see, when you put your pants on, which leg do you do first?
I do the right.
Why?
Habit.
See? Don't even think about it. It just happens. So much of your life is done that way, on autopilot, without even thinking about it. It's just what you do when you do that. If you really want to challenge yourself to think and grow, when you put on your pants, do it with a purpose. Put the other leg in first and see what happens. See how it changes everything about what you're doing. It's kind of like when you lock up the doors leaving the house. You lock it up the same way every single time. Don't even think about it. If you're like me, you go back and check it 4 or 5 times too on the way out to make sure you did it. Why? I don't know. You know what I mean? It's just what I do. So knowing that a lot of what you do in your everyday life is you're on autopilot. It wasn't intentional. You just did it. What are some of the things that since the last episode that we did on this that we're still, what are some things we're still struggling with?
I think we all, personally, I still struggle, with belief.
Yeah.
Because for so long, you believed you can't get there. You're not going to, it sounds good to make X amount of money, but is that really going to happen? That's, and I think the growth that's happened from that is, even though those thoughts will come into my head, I immediately think of something that will take them back and make me move forward rather than think the backwards way. I'm more aware of those thoughts than ever before.
There you go. So being aware is a huge first step, right? Like we talk about the only way that you can mention the things that you do autopilot for, like if you today decide I'm going to put my left leg in first when I get dressed, you'll do it. But guess what? If you don't think about it again the next day, you go right back to the old habit, because there's you just had a birthday. Would you like to tell everybody the amount of trips you've had around the sun? Or I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, I'm 42.
42. I just had my birthday too. Same thing, 42.
We're 42 this year.
And so, like, look, 42 years you've been putting your pants on the same way. And if you want to change that, the only way to change it is through practice and repetition to build new habits, right? Because the old habit is in your subconscious. That's what happens in your first 7 years, right? So if you're not where you want to be and you're not happy, start with your habits. Start with your subconscious, the things you do without even thinking about it. And it's amazing the what that will do for the layers of yourself that will open up, right?
Yep.
What are some other things that we still struggle with besides just belief? We talk about that a lot. We've made some bold moves, big moves, and we're winning most of them. However, I can't tell you how many times late at night I sit there and I start doubting myself. Am I doing the right thing? Almost every night. It's one of those things where I have to re-talk myself up, and remind myself why we're doing it, what it means, and most importantly, why I'm going to get it done. What are some of the things that we struggle with?
I think we still struggle with communication to one another.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the times it's not because I don't want to communicate. It's because, man, I know what you had today. I know what's coming tomorrow. This I'm about to bring him this might be his only couple hours of happiness to hang out with his family. Do I need to bring this up? So sometimes that's the level that I feel like I struggle with of the communication. Is there's sometimes the timing of it isn't always good, and things have been so wild the last few months. The timing is almost impossible to have at this point with all the things going on. So
that's right.
I feel just working on a better way not better way, but just how to improve our communication as is. I feel it's way better from it's leaps and bounds from 3 years ago, much less just a year ago. So
it's something that we, the only time that I catch us not communicating as much as we should, and usually that's when, if our relationship becomes stressed in any way, it's usually because of that, and it's usually just because you get busy doing stuff, I'm busy doing stuff, and we don't have enough time to meet in the middle. Mm-hmm. Same thing with the kids. And speaking about this, this has been a crazy long week for me. We had some folks in town, a lot to do. And when I get tired, when I get fatigued, the first thing that goes is my patience, right? So we're going through that right now. But I want to pause for a moment to talk about, we have amazing people that work with us. The team that surrounds us, including Jim sitting over here in the corner, they're absolutely incredible. So even though we demand high performance, right, Jim? We demand excellence. We demand greatness. At the end of the day, I catch myself, I have to remind myself that if something doesn't go the way I want it to, I know these guys are awesome. That's why they're here. And I know they're trying their best because that's why they're here. So if they didn't get it done, I'm going to bring it back to myself and be like, what could I have done better so that because I know they're giving me the effort and I know they're awesome. So if they didn't get it done, it has to come back to maybe I didn't give them what they needed or the information that they needed, right? That's so when you're the friends you have, the colleagues you have, the people on your payroll, your business partners, whatever, if they're amazing people and you know it, and they always give their best effort. If they're not performing on the level you want, look in the mirror, right? And you'll usually find stuff that you could have did better, which will in turn enhance their performance, right? And again, today's been a rough day. It's been long already. And just by reminding myself of that right now, I'm grateful. I'm in a better headspace.
Yep. Every morning, start with gratitude before you wake up.
That's it.
I believe it's Mel Robbins, one of her books, and she talks about how for 30 minutes she leaves her phone completely away from her in the mornings and at night. And it does incredible things for your brain, because me and John, who's an agent in the office, we just had this conversation yesterday. With the second you wake up, if all you do is look at your phone, the anxieties of that entire day are there, and you've just robbed yourself of any peace that you could have had, even if it was 10 minutes before you need to start your day.
Guilty.
I'm guilty too, even at night, trying to set my alarm and then set the phone away and not deal with it, because then I start making lists of all the clean groceries and all the things, and it becomes, I'm stressed before I even go to sleep, and I'm robbing myself of good sleep, which is super crucial to your health.
That's right.
Especially the older you get.
It does.
Or when you have a baby.
I think you're just so much more aware. The longer you're in your body, I think it learns to communicate with you as well. And maybe the things that are uncomfortable to you now, I was probably uncomfortable eating bad in my 20s. I just didn't know, and my body was still learning a lot, and I didn't listen to my body when I probably should have, right? It's amazing by just learning about yourself, building a relationship with yourself. You do that. You do that by your relationship with God first. That is your relationship with yourself, and then you can serve others, right? So it's funny. We talk a lot. I have a beef with the church to a certain degree, right? And my beef is that people go to church on Sundays because it's what they've always done. That's not the reason they went the first time. And every time you go, you should go for the reasons you did the first time. So we don't get to go every week anymore because of work and kids stuff, right? There's baseball tournaments and everything else. So when we do get to go, the stagnation in participation for me, or the stagnation in attendance for me, helps me every time I go. It's like, this is what I needed. But when we were able to go every week, or even like during the holidays in the wintertime and baseball slows down and everything else, and we can go more and more often, sometimes I catch myself like, oh man, tomorrow's Sunday, we got to get up and go and all that kind of stuff. Like, right? So you're a big believer in, like, church is important to our family.
I have never felt that way.
You've never felt that way?
Because I literally and that's only in the last few years, or the last year or so. For the longest time, when we first met, that was important to me, going to church every Sunday. And for a while it was important because that's what you did, right? But then over the last couple of years, having so much self-awareness and working on the most important relationship, which is my relationship with Jesus, in doing that every Sunday, I think to myself, what message does he want me to hear today that I can help tell other people about?
But see, I don't think everybody does that.
No, absolutely not.
They go because it's what they do on Sunday.
If everybody did that, there would not be the issues that we have every single day. People wouldn't wake up to be a victim. They would wake up to want to help other people because they have that relationship with Jesus, who's trying to tell them something to help spread that word. And I think someone said, I don't know who quoted it, but they literally said, if you're not helping someone spread Jesus's light every single day, how good is your relationship with him? And that, to me, and when we don't go, I listen to the messages because I'm like, what if I miss an important message that God needed me to hear, whether it's to help myself, my family, other people in our business? That's what church does for me.
It's, guys, like when the first time I met Rhi, the beauty of her physical body was overwhelming to me. Okay. And honestly, like, as a young male, it was extremely important and top of mind at all times, right? So, however, I still catch myself all these years later, learning new things about her, finding new layers about you as you've grown too, that I'm learning with you. That's just absolutely incredible. And, I guess because of the elements in which we met and the atmosphere that it was a party atmosphere. I guess I always kind of assumed that was at the, in the roots of your soul, and it's actually not at all, even though when your alter ego does come out, it's a good ass time. Right? we love that. But it's not a lot. I wouldn't love that person every day. I couldn't. Right. But like, I was thinking about this the other day, and I don't know if I've ever told you this, when I watch how you react sometimes. And guys, she still gets shy and embarrassed about certain things that people that have been together as long as we have and gone through what we've gone through shouldn't get embarrassed anymore. That just lets you know how well she was raised and how just she's a good girl. Like, she's one of the good girls disguised as a hot girl. But she's one of the good girls. And if I wasn't paying attention, or like when I noticed those things, it was on purpose. If not, I would take it for granted. So a lot of the times I catch myself like, what else could I have learned? What other gift from God was he going to give me through my wife that I wasn't there to get or ignored? Like, I catch myself asking that all the time. If you want a better relationship with people, it takes effort, right?
Absolutely.
How are we able to, because sometimes you spearhead those conversations. Sometimes I initiate them. What are some things that, like, when we catch ourselves drifting apart, we don't drift as far apart before we come back together as we used to? Why is that to you?
To me, it's, well, I know until the day I leave this earth, I'm going to be sleeping right beside you, or right next to you.
That's a good one. Nick's happy about that.
Yeah. So do I want it to be a happy life? Do I want to go to bed every night happy to wake up the next morning where I'm at? Mm-hmm. Or am I going to be miserable? And you get to choose, and I choose to be happy. So,
Well, I choose happy. That is why I chose you, right?
So I think that makes me quicker to soften and come to the middle to figure out how we can fix this together, rather than you didn't do this or you didn't do that. Yeah. Instead of blaming you, it's like, all right, how can I help you with what you're feeling, and, vice versa. What's
cool and along those lines is that, you read different books than I do. You read different podcasts than I do. Or you listen to different podcasts than I do. You listen to different radio stations than I do. That's cool because we do intentionally spend time to talk about these things. I benefit from the knowledge that you seek. I learn a lot from you. Just like, gosh, look what these people learned about food from the first 10 minutes of the episode. Like, I don't look up that stuff. Would I've taken the time to? Probably not. I'm better for it. And, I bring a different element to you that you might not get on your own. How important is that because you're growing. You're growing spiritually, you're growing professionally, as I am, but we need to grow together. So when you're growing on your own, how can you grow together with your family?
You just have to talk about it.
So just communicate?
That's it. That's really all it is, because there is someone I started listening to, thank you, AJ Vaden. She posted a book called Winning the War in Your Mind by Craig Rochelle, who is a preacher, and he partnered with a company called UVision, I believe, and they made the Bible app free to everyone. And I am just love listening, watching everything he does. He breaks down things in a sense that the modern culture that we have now, you just all understand it. And immediately I listened to one about marriage. And guys, one of his advice was, and I'll tell Nick this, I don't know if he listened to it yet, but compliment her, but not sexually, more than once a day.
I'll work on that.
Yeah. I think all men do. They don't know how any other way. That's their way to flirt, right? But if you can compliment a woman multiple times without it being sexual, when you do make that sexual comment to, like, what do they call it in the Newlywed Game? What do they call it? Making whoopee or something.
all I know is I'm not the only one that every time I walk by, I'm gonna smack your butt.
Right, but it's just it helps the woman to when that comes.
Now wait a minute. You're telling me that if I walk by you and I don't smack your butt, that you don't miss it at this point?
Not every time. Not every time. But at the end of the day, if you're giving genuine compliments where you can look in their eyes and tell that it's genuine and there's no intention after the fact, it will change the way that the woman interprets the sexual comments later. They won't be as annoying, for the lack of a better word.
Do we need examples, guys? I think we might need some examples here of what she's talking about.
Just listen to his it's a sermon. It's like 35 minutes long, and it's Craig Rochelle with the Life Church, and it's about marriage. I think there's like 4 of them, but they're short, but they're incredible because it's just it's almost like he spoke to his wife and she's telling him exactly things, from that side.
Okay.
But he's very, very good. A lot of his beliefs and way of thinking have helped me personally in the last year grow, and spiritually, with business, everything.
And you're managing a lot, right? So not only is she pulling a ton of weight in all of our businesses and investments, but you're running a household. We have a couple homes, and you're running those and keeping up with the rental and everything else. Like, how are you? What are some of the ways that you've learned to just stay on top of everything? Because like we keep adding and adding and adding, but we can't lose any of the quality on the stuff that came before, right? So the quality has to remain excellent. Things have to continue to grow and move forward in an excellent way. How do you balance all that?
Well, I like to think of it as
any tools.
A few, as someone, maybe you, dropping all these marbles on the table, and I'm trying to keep them all on the table, but they're going to roll off because there's too many full. So the key to that is to never have
a moat. You build a moat around it.
Yes, and you try to. You always say the worst 4-letter word there is wait.
Yeah,
and that was procrastination. Was one of my worst weaknesses when it comes to those things I just don't really want to do, and so I would just put them off to the next day, and then I've got 20 things here and 5 more things now and 10 more things coming down the pipe. Like, oh no, what am I going to do? So one of the things I started doing from the advice of a friend, networking partner, Stephanie Richardson, was you take all of your tasks, and rather than put them on a notepad, your notes in your phone, and God only knows how many other places I had the same to-do list, you put them all on your Google Calendar. And then you see them every day, and if you need to move or add to them. And I forgot that I used to do that when I worked for the doctor's offices. I created a calendar for, the different tasks that I had to do. And when she reminded me, brought that up, it reminded me how quickly I was getting things done at that time. And that was 15, 20 years ago. And it's still, that same process still works. So when I remember and get everything situated on the Google Calendar and utilizing that system, it helped me stay focused and moving forward.
Well, that's a good little tip. Mm-hmm. I think that gets another one right there, right? Talk to me about, we've learned a lot about, marketing and growth. Require 2 types of investments. Time and sweat's one, money's the other, right? We waited a long time to, like I say this a lot, we're brand builders clients. You mentioned AJ Vaden a minute ago, the CEO and co-founder of that great company. And big shout out to Jeremy Weber, who is one of our favorite people in the entire world and best friends, who is a founding member, who has just done leaps and bounds for us through our relationship with them. And I would encourage any guys, if you're a business owner or striving to be one or whatever, the only regret I have about not working with brand builders or the only regret I have about working with brand builders is that I didn't work with them sooner. 2 years. I mean, we waited at least 2 years too late. Right. And, like, if you really want to grow, one of the things we found out a lot lately is like everything's pay to play. Right? Everything's pay to play. You got to invest in stuff. Even to get press and stuff. If you're not members of certain things or whatever it may be, you don't get. They start there. That's where they feature all their people from. What are some things that you've learned in the past year or so, as far as because we went out to Arizona a few times. We're doing a lot of business with people out there. We learned a lot. What was that like when we went to Arizona? I guess it was a couple months ago. What was that experience like for you? What'd you learn?
It's all about connections. It's who you know.
Well, that was one of the things on your sheet here, was about talking about relationships.
Yep. You just don't burn them. Whatever, salvage every relationship you have. Doesn't mean you have to, have thousands of relationships that you meet with every single day, but you just kind of learn which relationships needs how much time, and what how you can help somebody, and you factor your time in that way. So, my relationship with you is going to require a lot of time. My kids, our people here. But then there's, I make time for making connections. I'm in a networking group literally called Business Connections. And I've been able to connect and have people in that group that I've known for years. Stephanie Richardson, who I just met. Josh Minton was on the podcast not too long ago. He helped start some of that stuff. And that's all we talk about is the relationships, right? People that come into that group that are just there for themselves looking for business, they don't make it. They stick out like a sore thumb. You can smell it all over them. But if someone is coming in there legitimately to help someone else grow their business, help them get to know people, like as soon as someone asks, I'm looking for, I write it down and immediately start writing down people that I could introduce them to. Doesn't mean I'm going to introduce them to all of them, but just in that quick thought from who I am and how much I love to help people, it like fuels my soul to help somebody accomplish something. And that alone, like I'll just go back and look through those people. Okay, well maybe 2 of those I could make that connection because I haven't talked to them in a long time, and I don't want to just call them and ask them for something. That you just kind of prioritize even those people, right? So I make a list, I evaluate it, and then I go back and decide who's going to be the best that I can introduce. That it's going to, at the end of the day, it's going to be a closed deal or an incredible relationship for that person.
So the more relationships you have, the better, and then you can definitely start to define each relationship as to which are the ones that need the most time spent or development or usefulness, like, all those things, right? But you should be grateful for all of them. Talk to me about, over the last 15 years, there were people in our lives that are no longer in our lives anymore. We still love them. We still have, we still consider them friends, but we've over time, and honestly, you have a big group of girls that you guys have been together since before I met you, and you guys are still rocking, still doing trips, still hanging out, and you've grown together. But not everybody that was in that circle now, and some have been added, but not everybody that was in that circle when I first met you is still there. What were like, and those were tough. Those can be tough conversations from time to time. Like, look, guys, our own son has gone through some things because he made a bad choice in somebody to hang out with, who then influenced him, and bad things followed. Things that he wasn't maybe even necessarily guilty of, but because he was guilty by association. It's even harder to make those decisions as an adult. And for whatever reason, most people don't. Most people don't audit the people in their life and decide, are these people part of my future or my past? Are these people somebody that I can grow with or not? Are they going to hinder my growth? How did you go about making those tough decisions and conversations and such?
Another book. Literally read a book called Safe People. And it's about 10 questions, and you evaluate your friends, sometimes even your family. And when you go through those questions, you realize real quick, even after 2, 3, and 4 questions, who is safe and who is not. And at the time, it took probably over a year or 2 years to make that, move for several people. But it was a move that, needed to be made. And you need to do that all the time, But I'm very lucky, very blessed to have a core group. And there's 6 of us, a few others here and there, but I'm fine with that. And at the end of the day, the ones that are no longer here, that we no longer really talk to, again, like you said, doesn't mean we don't love them. Doesn't mean if they called me tomorrow and asked me for help with their health insurance or whatever the case may be, I'd still talk to them and help them. I literally just posted something the other day. Just because we disagree doesn't mean I don't like you. More than likely, I probably love you because that's who I am, right? But yeah.
Well, you mentioned health insurance. That's one of the most we've done a lot of. We spent 2019 and 20, and we started the process of wanting to do other things, wanting to diversify and grow. We saw opportunities and ways we could help people in other places. So we started the transition in 19. 20, that was slowed down a little bit with all the shutdowns and everything else, and then resumed it back in 21. And we got a lot going on. However, I get this question a lot from people like, "Hey man, how things going? You guys got a lot going on. Are you still doing what's going on with the health insurance stuff?" Dude, we're still cranking.
Absolutely.
We're still cranking. We're still helping people. At the same rate we always have. Gosh, we get inquiries every single day from our website. People asking for help, right?
Every day, the Google Voice business line rings constantly.
That's right.
And
That's
it's
right.
Directing traffic.
Directing traffic. Still knee deep in that, and you're still helping as many people as ever. To answer everybody's question, if you need help with finding a health plan, we're here. We got you. That's what we do, right? We're here to help you out and get you what you need. But we've been messing around in some real estate. We've what Jim and the team have done here at the Hitlab. Literally turned a room in a dream into one of the fastest growing projects we have right now, doing absolutely amazing things, and into the world of merchant services. You know what I mean? Credit card processing and such. Did I leave anything else out? What else are we doing?
I don't think so. Not for now.
We're working on some amazing new studio and office space and an event center and everything else. I'm really excited.
Very exciting.
I'm really, really excited. We got some amazing people that we're working with. Big shout out to the great Dane Lomax, who we just love, Uncle Dane as we call him. What else we talk about today, Ree? We talked a little bit about working with spouse, right? That's what we get asked about the most, right? So we've given them that. With all the rest of the stuff going on in the world, there's a lot of noise and a lot of racket out there. Right. And I know for me, I can only take so much before it actually starts to affect how I feel every day. And it's mostly like that we joke about social media and like the social media recommends things for you, especially when you hit the search bar. And like Instagram, I swear it's nothing but panties and twerking and stuff. And to the point where, like, if you're sharing your screen and you're like, let me look that up, and you pop it up, it's almost like embarrassing. You know what I mean? But I was glad to hear that it's happening on hers too, and it wasn't just mine. I thought, because at first I was looking at my son, I'm like, what's he been searching? You know what I mean? What's he been searching on the IP with our IP address? But it's happening on hers as well. But it's hard. The point is, it's hard to I know when I get to a certain point, I can feel it. I'm like, I got to shut that feed off. I got to start focusing on other things. I can't be in a bad mood if I'm grateful. So let's just shift there. You know, if I'm counting my blessings, I'm in a good mood. Got to be, right? I got to be. What are some of the ways that you are able to cut through the noise and eliminate? Because I know there's a lot of things that you would love to say, and but the platform and the timing isn't right. So how do you walk the life you live in, or that you're living right now?
At the end of the day, my goal in this life is to go to heaven, right? And
I'll see you there.
according to my beliefs, based on what I've read and feel, Jesus is how you get there. And throughout that relationship with Jesus, I've been given more grace than anyone ever deserves. And looking at the home I live in, the business I come to, the people here, the people at the home, the family, that's how I count my blessings, right? I have a house, I have a husband, I'm financially in a place where I'm not worried about what's happening next, and I have 2 very healthy children. That is how I get through it. And instead of, thinking I need to talk to somebody about this, no, I just need to, literally most of the time it can be answered or solved with just getting out the Bible. And maybe I don't know where to turn in the Bible. Your phone is the resources there. The Bible app that Craig Rochelle partnered with this company and made it free to everyone. It has plans for anxiety, for anything you're going through. It's an incredible resource just for everyday life. And instead of turning to social media or turning on the news or scrolling your phone for this or that, just use that app instead and see what you can find. And it doesn't have to be a long period of time, but I think it's important to make sure you're getting some of that every single day, or you will drown from everything else that's out there.
Well, that's, you have to give yourself an opportunity to have balance. And if you spend 5-6 hours a day watching the bad news, did you read your Bible for 5 to 6 hours a day? Did you count your blessings for 5 or 6 hours a day? Because I bet you if you did, you look back. It's funny, when you have balance, the good always stands out. The good always triumphs. It just always does. But when you have that balance, so if you catch yourself being in a bad mood, focusing on the wrong things, like I was guilty of today, just a lot going on. I'm tired. Don't feel like doing it. I was telling Ethan when we were working out this morning, I was like, hey, buddy, I got to pump myself up a little bit. This is how I do it. You don't have to do it this way, but I'm not upset with anybody. I'm getting in the headspace to crush this because I didn't want to do a half-ass workout. I wanted to work out really good, or else I didn't want to do it. And it took me a minute to get there. You have a different way of getting in the right mindset. What are some of the tricks that you use to do that, for things like that? I
just like to be quiet.
You like to be quiet?
No noise, and that's not happened in the last 2 weeks since there's currently a digging apparatus in our backyard
for the pool. Yeah,
rock.
They're jackhammering rock first thing in the morning, all day long. Yeah.
So I think getting up before everybody else and spending 30 minutes just quiet. When I'm walking, when I'm getting dressed, anytime there is some downtime, I try to turn on whether it's Hitlab or some uplifting radio station, or listening to the message from the church that I didn't hear the week before because we had baseball or something else. We were out of town. So those are just the easy little things, and I think working out for me, just I like to start my day off. It's rare that if I don't do it before the day, it gets done.
Let's shift over. Talk to me about money a little bit, because we've learned a lot about it. We learned through mistakes, right? We learned by seeking knowledge. We learned by research. We learned by trial and error. And it's funny. The more that we give, the more that we seem to have. When we do what we believe is right, it's funny. It's like God provides what we need when we need it every time. It's crazy. It's crazy how that works. And it's so hard as a guy that likes to be in control to give up a certain amount of control for that. But you're not really giving up control. You're actually, by giving it to God, you're actually getting control. That's the thing, is you have to give it to get it. We say there's a graphic of you that was made. I don't even remember who made it, but it's got a quote on it that says, "Take what you need, but take less than you give." And that's always been so powerful to me. And I think honestly, that's what should be on your tombstone, besides a picture of me, is is that quote. You're just an amazing. I'm just so lucky to be your husband, to be the father of your kids, to be your business partner, because I'm a better person. I'm a better businessman because of things I had to learn to teach. When we were learning some things together, I learned some things, you learned some things. We had to teach each other. I learned that if we couldn't fire each other, so we had to learn to work through, like I was talking about earlier. If you didn't get the job done as well as it could have been, I learned to say, well, what did I not give her that would have allowed her to get it done in a better way? Like I start to assume responsibility. That's not happening a lot in the world today. I made the statement when we were at the Titans game, and I love the Titans guys. I'm a sports fan. Everybody knows that about me, but I don't watch a lot of sports, right? So I'm not like most husbands sitting down all weekend watching football, right? I think you watch more football than I do.
That is true.
I think I ask her for the scores, guys, of these games when we're doing stuff. However, the reason I'm saying all that, let me see if I can go back to the reason I started that story. The reason is we were at the Titans game, and I remember I looked at Brad, and there was two. It was a Titans fan and a Raiders fan. They were upset with each other. Don't know each other at all. Super upset. And I remember the Raiders fan was so distraught because the team had lost. And I looked at Brad and I was like, I have nothing against sports fans, but what's missing in your life that a team that you like losing affects you that much? What's missing in your life that what somebody said on a news outlet or on a social media post or on something else that you saw that you let it ruin your day so bad that it offended you that much? What's missing from your life? And that's a question that I catch myself asking a lot, because look, I'm a guy, I want fans. I want people to love what we're doing. I want people to love this show. I want them to care about this podcast as much as they care about their team winning. But at the end of the day, I don't want it to, if I do a bad job today, I don't want to ruin a whole bunch of people's day. I want them to go about their day because it's their day, not mine, right? You've done a great job of staying balanced. How do you neutralize all that stuff? How do you honestly, you weaponize it?
I think it's because at the end of the day, the person making a comment that I disagree with, it's a comment. It's not who they are. I mean, I have friends that make comments and I would never say anything to them about it, even though I disagree. But if we sat down and actually a friend of mine, we did sit down and we talked, and I said, look, based on what you post, I would think this is what you feel about this topic. And she said, and I said, here's what I feel. And I typed it out and let her read it. She's like, well, that's how I feel. Like, I know. And that's the part, that's how I balance it, because I know that that's not truly what they're thinking. They're just so caught up in this moment, the football game, and they lost, and their passion towards this, that at the end of the day, we're all in the middle.
Those two fans were just two football fans.
Yeah.
They had football in common. They had the NFL in common, and they let the logos on their shirts define if they like each other or not.
And that's literally what goes on social media all day long over every single topic there is, and more people, if they stopped and asked one another things, they would see how quickly they have so much in common, even about the way they feel about a certain topic. And that's the only way I know how to balance it. And it's not something you learn. It's just a gift. It really is, to be able to look at every single person the same. And that's only because I know that's how Jesus and that's how God looks at everybody, right? That's how we're supposed to love. That's what we're supposed to do. At the end of the day, there were 10 commandments, but Jesus did give one final one, and it was called love one another, and has a world, we forgot how to do that. We
That's
love
right.
one another based on what's going to benefit and further us, not for the simple fact that that's what we're supposed to do, is just love one another.
Yeah, it's almost like, even in the world of the polarizing world of politics today, we've gotten so caught up in who wins and loses that we forgot that, like, it's about, like, whoever wins, I need them to do a good job, because it affects all of us. Likewise, right? It affects all of us the same. So, like, we need them to do a good job, but we're so caught up in who won or lost in the competition itself that we forgot that, like, why we're competing in the first place, what's at stake here. And I don't know. It is hard, because I know that we talk about this a lot off the record when it's just us two, how we feel about it. We communicate, but it doesn't. I mean, you feel differently about certain things than I do, and let's use this as a quick example. Coming from the world of professional sports, we used certain words loosely in the clubhouse that you can't say like in public or restaurant or to your spouse or whatever. And it took me a long time to learn that. We disagreed on that. And over time, through us just talking about it, I learned to see your perspective. I learned to value your perspective. And at the end of the day, I learned to agree with your perspective the whole time instead of just fighting. It took me being open to it, and it took time of discussing over and over and over again. Guys, you want to know how our relationship has worked? It's that. That's happened over and over and over again.
Yep.
Well, what else is good? We got to bring this sucker to a close. I could sit here and talk to you all day long, but I know everybody's got stuff to do.
To wrap up, any final thoughts? It's, at the end of the day, no matter who you are, where you're at, kids, family, whatever your situation is, you're doing a good job. And you just got to tell yourself that. It's so easy to be our biggest enemies, because that's what our mind does. But it literally, if I could end on anything, it's go buy that book. And I'm not even promoting the book. I don't get any kind of thing.
We should have signed an affiliate deal first.
It's that good. It's the Craig Rochelle, Winning the War on Your Mind. Because if you can control your mind, you can control your finances, your relationships, your business, your family. You can control what you can control, right? There's uncontrollables, but you can control the everyday things in your life that stand in the way, that limit your beliefs and where you can go.
You definitely control your mood, right? I have to remind myself of that a lot. You definitely control your feelings, right? So take ownership in that. It's a beautiful thing. It is a beautiful thing. And I look forward to this episode a year from now when we shoot another one, if not sooner, to see how far we've gone. Because, I mean, literally think about what's changed in the last year since we sat down here last. Think about all the people that have come through, the amazing people that have come through this studio right here. And think about all how people made fun of us for building this room when we built it, and they told us it was dumb and stupid and everything else, I can't wait to see what the next year brings. And all this is with a baby girl at home that's all over the place. I mean, we got a lot going on. What are you most excited about? So the holidays are coming up, right? Holidays are coming up. When this thing airs, they may have already passed, but that's okay. We do holidays big. It's our favorite time of year. What are you really excited about for the rest of 2022 and launch in 2023?
The rest of 2022, just seeing the fruits of all the labor from the past year, and the family time that I get during the holidays. Those are my excited times because, as you know, people fuel my soul, and having a house full of 35 to 40 people may sound like a nightmare to most people, but for me, I am whipping out the Uno and whatever food I can find, and it's literally one of the happiest moments.
It is a good time. And anything else as I bring this sucker to a close from my bride, my partner, my VP.
I guess my last quote of the day is, I believe it's Henry Ford, and I tell this to every one of our agents, anyone that's on any of our teams, is whether you think you can or you can't, you were right. And that just all goes back into that belief and awareness, manifesting the happiness, the good choices. It sounds simple, and I know it's easier said than done, but it's really seriously one of the biggest keys to living a happy, successful life.
That's right. Push your limits because you are the one who set them, right? That's fantastic. Is there as far as limits go, why do you feel that like we talked to a lot of people about this? People have all these preconceived notions of what they can and can't do. Mostly what they can't do, not what they can do. Any tools to help? I mean, we spend a lot of time seeking out information, right? Why do you think people come up with all those limits for themselves so much?
At some point, they were told that.
There you go. So, but they can tell themselves.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. Well, I've had a lot of amazing people sit on the other side of sit where you're sitting today. I've had family sit there. I've had our son sit over there. But I'm gonna say it right now. You're my favorite guest.
That's right.
You're my favorite guest by a lot, and I love everybody. That just shows you how great it is for you to be here. Guys, I really want you guys to know I appreciate the time. She's a busy lady, and I'm always asking for her time. I'm always asking for that time. So anything else you're excited about for the rest of the year, or anything else before we bring it to a close?
Well, I don't know if this will air before or after, but we've got a new business in the works, and I'm really excited to see the relationships develop throughout that business and what that's going to turn into, and the opportunity that business is going to bring for us to bring other people in and help them change their lives.
That's right. It's life is exciting. Life is a gift. Man, enjoy it, find the joy, and live it to the fullest, right?
Amen.
Well, folks, again, we have been chatting with my bride, my business partner, my VP, my main squeeze, the lovely Rhiannon Hiter, or as you guys know her as Rhi, right? Mm-hmm. And all her social, simple to find, at Rhiannon Hiter. And she's somebody that you definitely want to keep up with, definitely want to follow. All of our business stuff is at Team Hiter. Very easy to find. Once again, the amazing, the talented, and the beautiful Rhiannon Hiter. Thanks so much, baby. I appreciate you.
I loved it.
And I love you.
I said I loved it, but I do love you too.
Well, once again, folks, thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of The Hit Streak. I am your man, Nick Hiter. God bless.